called Green Mamba. It's a 1968 Chevy Corvette. It's called Green Mamba because it kills the competition at the racetrack. I'm Bob Bertelsen, builder, owner, and driver of this machine. It took 12.5 months to build my 2-car garage. It may look like a show car, but it was built to be driven and raced. So let me tell you a little bit about the build. Green Mamba is heavily modified. As you will see, almost every panel has been modified in some way. The rendering was done by Gary Regal, and he hit the mark with a modern and stylish design. I made the front end by taking foam sheets, gluing them to the car, and then shaping them with sandpaper. Once the desired shape was created, fiberglass was applied to the foam. When dried, it was trimmed and ground to the final shape. For the headlights, the factory openings needed to be closed up. I rolled a piece of sheet metal to a slight arch and laid fiberglass on it. The fiberglass was then trimmed and grafted into place, leaving about a 1 3/4 inch opening for the headlights. A piece of billet aluminum was CNC machined to house 7 1-inch LED lights. I purchased a fiberglass front bumper, but didn't like the fit or the gaps. I cut the bumper apart, reshaped it, and refiberglassed it. The bumper was then sent out to have carbon fiber applied. The end result, a carbon fiber bumper that fits the car. For the front splitter, I drew it in CAD and had it laser cut out of 16-gauge sheet metal. After fitting it to the car, the template was shipped out to have it made in carbon fiber. Green Mamba needed flares to allow for big tires for racing. I installed a set of flares I had purchased, but they interfered with the tires when the suspension compressed. So I cut them apart, reshaped them, and refiberglassed them. Now I have flares that allow for full suspension travel and has the style and stance that I was looking for. For the hood, I wanted something more modern and stylish, so I chose the Camaro ZL1 carbon fiber hood scoop and grafted it to the original 68 Corvette hood. Using liquid foam and sandpaper, I was able to make a smooth transition between the hood and the scoop. I then covered it with fiberglass. The side vents needed some help. They needed to match the ZL1 scoops. Using some sheet metal, I made a left and right mold and then made fiberglass side vents. They were grafted into the sides of the car. I wanted something different for exterior mirrors. I'd run into Mike Ring at SEMA last year, and he showed me his new carbon fiber mirrors. They looked like they'd fit the style and look of the cars, so that's what I installed. On a C3 Corvette, the rear deck looks really long. My solution, taper the rear window. I cut 9 inches out of the bottom and tapered it through the sail panel. The end result was a shorter looking rear deck and a sleeker rear window. The Corvette lacked storage area, so I cut out a trunk opening in the rear deck. I built a fiberglass box to extend the factory storage area by about 18 inches. Aaron Overly machined a set of billet hinges that I had designed in CAD. The end result, an accessible storage area. I purchased a carbon fiber rear wing. I designed brackets that would allow lots of adjustment and had Aaron Overly CNC machine them. After modifying almost every panel in the car, how could I leave the factory tail panel alone? So I relocated the license plate and built a new lower valance/belly pan that would cover the fuel tank. For the rear bumpers, I started with foam blocks and shaped it to a sleek, more stylish look. Then applied fiberglass to the foam and trimmed them to fit. Next, I figured out a way to mount the bumpers and did the final shaping. Once they were finished, I sent them out to have carbon fiber applied to them. We've talked about the modifications of Green Mamba. Now let's talk about the mechanics of the build. The motor is a Kurt Urban Performance LS7 that produces 650 horsepower. I've raced one of these engines for over 3 years in my C10 truck, Orange Rush, and is still going strong. The motor supplies plenty of reliable power to accelerate the car like a bullet. The motor uses a daily 3-stage dry sump pump, and oil is supplied from the custom sump tank that holds 10 quarts of oil. Fresh air is supplied via Spectre Performance air filter and 4-inch aluminum tubing. An Optima red top battery handles the chore of starting the motor. It is hidden in a compartment behind the passenger seat. CR Racing supplied the radiator with oil and power steering plate coolers built into the tanks. This provides excellent cooling for the motor while racing. The inch and 7/8 custom headers were made and connected to 4-inch tubing running to the hooker side pipes. I coated the exhaust inside and out with Cerakote ceramic coating. The covers on the side pipes were laser cut by Hickey Metal Fab. I added insulation to the back of the covers before installing them. It now reduces the side pipe heat from 500 degrees to just over 100 degrees, which eliminates a lot of burned legs. I use a Holley Dominator ECU to control the motor, as this system is fairly easy to program. One of the things I like about the Holley Dominator is the ability to switch between 4 programs with just a turn of a key. This allows me to detune the engine on a smaller autocross course. The Odometer LCD display has a chore monitoring the engine functions. I like the gauge because of the great selection of gauge configurations and how easy it is to program. You can program the warning lights in different colors and/or have text appear that might tell you high water temperature, low oil pressure, or anything else you may want to know. This takes the guesswork out of the vital engine function that is not correct. A QuickTime bell housing is connected to a Tremec T56 6-speed transmission. Bowler Transmission installed their Stage 2 upgrade kit before I installed it in the car. I've used this setup in 3 cars and has remained reliable, smooth shifting, and durable. The Center Force Triad triple disc clutch handles the clutch duties. I've been known to be hard on clutches, sometimes only getting 1 race out of them, but I've found the Center Force Triad is the only clutch that holds up to my racing. Green Mamba is one of the first cars to have Detroit Speed's new Speed Ray front suspension and the new Detta Link independent rear suspension. I use Detroit Speed because I found their parts have worked exceptionally well in my past builds. This new suspension allows for a lot of adjustment and the car handles like it's on rails. I use JRI double adjustable shocks for my cars. The shocks are fairly easy to adjust for different track conditions and they work very well. The center section is Detroit Speed's new Hammerhead differential with 355 gears. I've only raced it 4 times, but I can tell I like the way it hooks and drives out of the corners. The brake master cylinder is a new design from Detroit Speed. It runs 2 Tilton master cylinders with a brake bias shaft. I like the adjustability of this system. Stopping the car are 6-piston bare brake 6R calipers and 14-inch rotors. I run Hawk DTC30 front pads and Hawk Plus rear pads. I have run this combination on several cars and find it to be the best. Green Mamba can stop on a dime. BFG Rival S tires have the job of keeping the car on the track. I have tried several tires, but found these to be the best grip for a 200 treadwear tire. The front tires are 315/30 18s and the rears are 335/30 18s. The tires are mounted to Forgeline CV3C rims, which are coated in black chrome and translucent smoke gray. I have used Forgeline on several of my builds as they are well made, durable, and easy to clean. The fronts are 18 by 11.5 and the rears are 18 by 12.5. The steering column is made by I Did It. I use an NRG quick release steering wheel adapter and a Detroit Speed steering wheel. The interior was built and covered by Trick Labs. I wanted easy access to electronics, so they built a drawer that slides out of the dash and houses the American Auto Wire fuse panel and Holley Dominator ECU. The seats are Cobra seats and have been recovered in leather and suede by Trick Labs. I choose to use Schroet harnesses because of the 2-inch shoulder belts that fit my Hans device and how easy they are to adjust the clasps and adjusters. I chose to use a Bowler transmission, shift lever, and knob as they are stylish and lightweight. There are times I drive my car for hours at a time. To make this more enjoyable, I installed Dakota Digital's drive-by-wire cruise control system. Vintage Air supplied the mini heater and controls. I use this unit because there's not much room behind the dash and it puts out lots of heat when needed. I installed a Samsung tablet to run the Solo Storm Autocross app, GPS maps, and also to supply music to my Kenwood Bluetooth controller and amp so I can listen to tunes while I'm cruising. Safety is important to me. That is why the car is outfitted with a Safecraft 10-pound fire suppression system that has nozzles on the motor, fuel tank, and the driver. The roll bar was built out of 1 5/8 steel by Tom McKenzie and myself. It was TIG welded by Jeremy at Elite Welding and then powder coated by A+ powder coaters. The paint on the car is BASF, their RM Diamond line. I custom mixed the green base and named it Green Mamba. The gray is called Storm Gray. The car was cleared with mini coats of Glamour Clear. I've used RM paints on my last 4 builds because of its deep shine and how easy it is to take care of. The bodywork and paint was done by Bruce Harvey at Pro Comp Customs. A+ powder coaters handled all the powder coating from frame and suspension to all the trim. I chose a gray texture powder on most of these parts because it doesn't show fingerprints and it has a really cool look. Green Mamba has been done for a few weeks and I have autocrossed it a few times. All the components I mentioned earlier are working very well together. The car launches, accelerates, and stops better than any car I've ever driven. When cornering, the car stays flat and grips very well. Once I get a little more comfortable with the car and how well it works, I think I'll be a contender in most autocross events. That's how I built Green Mamba. I'd like to thank my wife for her love, support, and encouragement during the build. She's the best and I love her dearly. I want to thank God for giving me the time, the talent, and the finances to build this car. Without God, I am nothing. Thank you for watching my video on how I built Green Mamba.